right, guys. Welcome to the first episode of Behind the Lou. I am your host, Brendan. I'm joined with Sean and technical difficulty Adam. He has camera problems right now, so we apologize for that. But
My
today
bad.
we're going to be going over the Cardinals offseason and just everything that has happened with the whole winter meetings and the winter warm up and all the signings and everything that's been going on through the Cardinals organization. So um, I'll just lead off to Sean. So, how are you been doing today?
Great. I read the amazing article that was written for us that you sent over. It was written by, because I want to make sure that we give him credit for one of the topics that we have going on for us today.
Ben Fredrickson.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of articles out today after because today is January 15th, which is the second day of the winter warm up. So it's just the whole day where they have all like the Cardinal players and Mo is there. They're doing interviews and stuff about the upcoming season and things that happened this off season. So yeah, there's just a lot that came out with everything. So I want to start off with just going into what happened this off season. Um, Obviously, the big signing that happened was Wilson Contreras, and I thought that was one of the best options they could have done. I'm really happy with that decision that they decided to go with Wilson over Sean Murphy, just due to the fact that when you look at what Wilson brings to your team when you're losing someone like Yachty, like a guy with like fire energy, a guy who is plays with his heart out on the field. You couldn't have asked for a better replacement than have Wilson Contreras as your backstop for the next 5 years. So, and it didn't cost any of your prospects either. It was all just strictly money, and I think it was 85. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember what it was.
For Contreras,
But
like what he signed for.
yeah, I think it was like 5 years, 85 with a 6 year option. That's what I believe it was. It was a while now.
Yeah. I think, and like you said, to get like such a personality on the team is what that's going to be missing with, as you said, Yachty and Pull is moving on to heaven, pretty much, as I like to think of it, since they're with retiring. It really makes sense. I mean, and the contract's 5 years, 87 million and a half, about 17 and a half for the next few years or so.
My thing is with that signing, I understand you lost Yachty, you lost one of your franchise pizzas, and everybody knew Pujols was leaving. Is Contreras alone enough to get yourselves farther into the postseason than you would have last year? You know what I mean? Is he going to
Yeah.
be like single handedly enough of a push to get you farther into the postseason? I'm not saying all the way to the World Series. I'm just saying,
Past
just
the
a
first round. Yeah.
yeah, just pass that first round. And it does make the team look better, but that alone, with your only major signing during free agency, is that alone like enough to start catapulting yourselves back on top?
And I
I
think
think
that's
it
the
is.
biggest, yeah, I think that's the biggest question with everything this offseason and whatever Mosaic chooses to do with the money that, has been allocated with it. But for me personally, I don't think so. I still think pitching is, you're taking too much of a gamble on it. That's my big thing.
Right.
And I understand we have like this big hitting force, even with Pujols and, Molina again leaving. But you have
I
to
mean,
hope for,
personally, if I'm just for anyone who listens to this, I'm not from St. Louis. I am always and will be a Pittsburgh Pirates fan at heart, no matter what. So I've been dealing with the goddamn St. Louis Cardinals for my whole life. And even like this year, it's always terrifying to play them because like even the past years, you guys have always had that fucking demon offense and demon defense, even with or without pitching. I mean, you had Wainwright in his prime, but now he's getting a little up there in the grandpa days where you can't rely on him anymore. And I don't know if they're struggling to
yeah,
get away from that.
I
But
think they are. Like
if
me and
if
Brendan
I
have,
were
yeah.
if I were in the MLB right now, I'd be scared of the St. Louis Cardinals, just hands down. I mean, I understand that like pitching may be an issue, but my God, look at who they have in the infield. Like Jesus Christ, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and to go back to the Wilson Contreras thing, I think makes a difference I
Oh
think
yeah.
when he goes offensive, like the offensive like potential of this lineup is probably one of the best in the MLB. I mean, you look at if you have Arenado doing what he did last year, and you have Goldschmidt. I'm not expecting him to put up the same numbers as last year because that was
New bar.
humbling all season. You have the emergence of Lars Nootbaar, yeah, and then you can have the potential of Dylan Carlson making a step forward. You also have Tyler O'Neill, who had a down year, and just in 2021 he put up like 30 plus home runs and had a over 130 WRC plus. So I mean, if you can get back to that, and even just remotely close to having the same performance, I mean your offense is easily capable of going against anybody. Now, for the pitching side, there's a lot there's a lot to look forward to with the pitching staff in a way because I'm really excited to see Gordon Crescenzo get his opportunity in spring, especially with the WBC. And we'll get into that later, but um, for the pitching staff, the one thing that worries me is the whole thing that changes the whole like outlook of the pitching staff is Jack Flaherty. If Jack Flaherty is 2019 Jack Flaherty, you have that rotation looks completely different. Because then you can have these guys who are more, you know, ground ball esque pitchers who don't really miss bats often. But if you have that guy at the top of the rotation who can do that for you, that changes your whole outlook in a short playoff series. Because you have one guy that you know he will dominate the entire time and go toe to toe with anybody of any of the best pitchers that you're facing in postseason. So
Right.
I think you do need two of them, especially nowadays when you look at like Phillies, you look at Yankees, you look at what the Dodgers have done in the past, you look at what the Padres have. Like a lot of these teams have two plus. Even the Brewers, for example, they're not. I don't even think they're as much playoff contenders as they used to be, but they still have Woodruff and Burns as like your top two. And if you don't have that top two, you're not going to be able to go toe to toe with a lot of these teams. Can they
My
get the
thing
job
is,
done and go through 162? I think they can, but how will it go in postseason? That's something that's yet to be seen because you don't have anybody in the rotation besides Jack that has the potential of doing that, and that's asking a lot of Jack to do that.
that's my thing is the only guy I know that could do that is Jacob deGrom. He's the only person I know that can come back from an injury and still be that dominant player that he is.
It's Rodon.
And
Rodon just
Rodon,
did it. Yeah.
he's there's only a small handful of guys that can come back from an injury, like so many injuries, and still be that guy for their team. You know what I mean? And Flaherty, I hope for the best for him, but is that the guy you want to cement yourself this year too? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, they decided to bet on him, and I don't think I'm really high on Jack Flaherty. I think these last few years have been so strange, and when you're going through an injury through the years that he has, I mean, it's probably like the worst time to do it in MLB history. Like when you had 2020, it was a COVID shortened season, and the offseason didn't even know when they were going to start playing. In 2021, it was kind of the same thing. Like going into that season, there was things about the labor situation, and they didn't know about COVID still of if they were going to be able to start spring on time or anything. And then going into 2022, you had the lockout where teams couldn't even communicate with the players. So this is the first time since 2019 that Jack Flaherty has actually had a normal offseason. No, he has communication with the team, and you know, I think it's fair to put high hopes on him, but I still would have liked them to at least go and either trade or sign a guy who could be the top of the rotation. That's why I really wanted Rodon. And if you're going to go trade for anybody, even though I don't think he's a number one, I think Pablo Lopez is probably the best fit for that with the Marlins, and we'll probably make a good trade partner with him. But that's another thing going into the season, and what I think Mo's headspace is when you look at what the Central looks like for 2023. I mean, the Brewers aren't going to be I think they downgraded since. I mean, yeah, they got William Contreras, but they lost Hunter Renfro. They lost the clubhouse guy McCutcheon. Thank God he's back to the Pirates, by the way.
Yes, sir.
But you look at like what they've done. Like, yeah, they still have that good rotation, but they don't even have Josh Hader still. They traded him last year. Their bullpen's kind of iffy. I don't know if I trust Devin Williams in that actual shutdown role because he was struggling through that after losing Hader. And you look at the Cubs, they've made a lot of moves, but they look more. They still don't look ready. They've made a lot of mid moves. Like if you're gonna spend a lot of money on nothing, that's what the Cubs did this offseason. So I don't know what their plan is. I think they can compete with the Brewers, but I don't know if they're not on our level. I don't believe. So
I think they're
I
a
don't
dead in
know.
the water team. Every time I think about it and look at them, I feel like they're not going anywhere. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
and then
Ever since the emergence of Chris and Yelich that whole season back in what, 2019, 2018, whenever that was.
2018, yeah,
Yeah. Ever since that whole emergence, and then the following year, Christian Yelich has just been down, downhill slope. He hasn't been the same MVP season that he is, and they're lose. They they lost Corbin Burns, they lost Andrew McCutcheon, blah blah blah, and they
but
don't
Corbin
have.
Burns is still on the team.
Oh, I thought you said he lost Corbin Burns.
No, they lost Hunter Renfro.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Hunter Renfro, my bad. But they lost Hunter Renfro. They're losing all their like solid pieces from that 2018 season, and Yelich is the same. They, I want to say they don't have the prospects to, that they're looking forward to become that young team again. So I just feel
Yeah,
like they're a dead in the water team with like they didn't make any free agent moves. They're just nowhere.
but don't forget about Wade Miley. That's a big difference maker
Oh
for the
yeah,
Milwaukee Brewers.
yeah, sure.
But no, back to what I was saying though. When you look at like the other teams in the division, you got Pirates, which I think is actually going to be a lot better than what people are expecting. Just because I
I
think
hope so.
bringing McCutcheon in was a very smart move to have that leadership and someone who has been around the franchise before. I think it's just good for the fans too.
It is
So
because as a hometown person, I could actually touch on that. When you sent me that Andrew McCutcheon was back in the Berg, I don't think I've ever been happier for a Pittsburgh Pirates team, even if it's just 1 year. If he could retire a Pirate and he wants to retire a Pirate, that's great. You don't hear anything because Pirates, they sign these players and they start doing hot, and then we get rid of them at the trade deadline or we just don't re-sign them. But as of right now, as we stand, Cruz, Hayes, maybe Reynolds, if he stays, I understand he requested a trade. If he stays, he's still, a staple to that team right now. He's still having a pretty good career with the Pirates. If he stays, I mean, we're a young, up and coming team, but that's if we get a bullpen, and that goes for basically
and
everybody in the
rotation.
league. Yeah, like our pitching rotation is like a minor league fucking rotation right now.
Yeah, I like that team so far. I think they had a really solid off season.
Here's
Like
the
just
question that
looking at what they're doing.
And we signed Santana. I mean, that's another little veteran appearance. Another bat, hopefully another bat to add to the lineup.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
question that I have for everyone on this, and it's where do we see pitching going in the MLB in general? I mean, me and Brent have had conversations before about it. Of you can't have these pop outs or ground out people. Pitchers are striking; they're good in strikes and whatnot. And to round off this conversation with the Cardinals in general is what do we see the pitching for the Cardinals not only for this upcoming year but 2 years down the road? I mean, again, you signed Adam Wainwright, the old man trying to get 200 wins to, submit his legacy, which I'm all for. Cool, I guess. But, the storylines from last year, it made more sense for him to retire this year. And it kind of handcuffs Mo to not go and try and get someone because, you want to do the player justice and give him the rights to, reach the Hall of Fame legacy that he wants to with the team that he chooses, which makes sense. But, what is the pitching going to be like? Like, what kind of salary are we going to be going for? Like, what is the philosophy behind pitching with the Cardinals going forward?
I think they have to change. I think they are. Because when you look at what their other moves this offseason was, let me pull up the names here because I want to make sure I get their names right. But they like they're trying to get pitchers, even if it's just like small moves, like what they did this year with like the Rule 5 draft picks and everything. Um, they they've made strides to try to get more swing and miss. They just this last draft they signed a lot of college pitchers who have that benefit, like with Jerpy that they just drafted this last year. So and they will be since their college will be ready sooner than they would be if they're out of high school. So yeah, I think you have like okay. Here's the names that I was thinking of: Wilkin Rodriguez and Guillermo Zunga. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but I they are
Bazungu.
looking at their. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I remember when I looked at them when the transactions were done, like in early December. They had They had a lot of velocity, and they had a lot of swing and miss stuff. And they were doing this in like the Dominican League, which yeah, it's not a major league affiliating, but when you look at what the Dominican League is, it's mainly it's a hitters league. Like hitters go there to match all the time. So when you have a guy who's coming from that who did well in the Dominican League, you can pretty much expect that to correlate with what you can expect from him this next season. But when you look at like where MLB's going as a whole, I think it's just simple to look at the Houston Astros and what they did last year. If you look at that bullpen, I mean, it's ridiculous. And that rotation's ridiculous. I mean, it didn't matter what team they were facing, didn't matter who was in the batter's box. They were going to shut down that entire game. And that's how they won. And they did a lot through international signings and through development. And I think the Cardinals pitching development has to change. Because if they don't, they're going to be like they're way out of the like they're like everything's just not caught up to speed on where they need to be. Because I mean, you look at what these numbers are compared to the league. I mean, we had one of the worst strikeout rates in the entire MLB last year. Yeah, we still won 93 games because of our offense. But if you look at what this team could be with an elite rotation or an elite bullpen with a lot of swing and miss stuff, I mean, this team could be a 100-plus win team. But I thought they were going to go into this offseason addressing that, and they didn't because they wanted to put bets on people and they didn't want to make long-term investments for some reason. And I don't understand why, but I guess we can go into what Mo said at the winter warm-up yesterday. That's kind of alarming to me. I know, Sean, you read it. I don't know how you felt about it was. So what did you think?
My first initial thought of it, and it might come off kind of weird, it was Mo tried to get more, but just lost out on other offers. Like he wasn't able to do enough. And it's the age-long story that I've realized, in the short time of like becoming a Cardinals fan and baseball fan in general, is that like, it's simply you snooze, you lose. I mean, you're given all this promise and that like, oh yeah, big changes are going to come because, if Brendan, you can correct me on this, but they did say, hey, payroll's going to go up. Oh, it didn't go up.
Yes, I'm going to get into that after you're done because I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, shit, man. I mean, you're telling me that we could probably make it. Like, we could do something with this money. We got all these people coming off, and then you bring back Adam Wainwright, which is like, all right, fine. Again, going back to that point, justice served, go get your Hall of Fame credentials, apparently, because you need that. And then you get Contreras, amazing, great replacement. And then what else? And in the article, it was greatly, written to where the best point of it was just that we were expecting big splashes and we got one. It just doesn't make sense on why and another thing that, it goes back, I personally don't like the way how coy Mozilla can be at times. I find it kind of just not worth it anyone's time. Just tell me straight to my face whether or not we're going to be competitive. Yeah, I don't need these, runarounds or not straightforwardness from my GM because I just want to know what I'm putting, my money into if I'm going to buy a ticket to watch the Cardinals for the year.
Yeah. Here's my whole thing. You look at what they when he said right before the offseason started that payroll's going up. It is unfair to say that when you're talking about minor increase, like a minor increase. And you know, I I think that why are you even mentioning that payroll's going to go up when you are you're saying payroll's going to go up and you don't do anything more than just sign Wilson Contreras, and doesn't even put you up into the high levels of where the rest of MLB is, considering like you look at the Braves, you look at the Mets. Obviously, I don't want them to be the Mets by how much they're spending, but
You mean you don't want to try and sign someone and then not sign?
yeah. But yeah, you look at you just look at everything, and it's like I just don't understand why you would even mention it. What like you didn't need to mention payroll's going to go up at all. You could have just said when that question was asked, we have to review our resources, and it may go up, and it may go up. Like they don't have to give an amount, but just don't say, oh yeah, payroll will go up, and not give an amount, because fans are going to speculate, media is going to speculate, and now he's facing the repercussions of it by people bashing him and the media bashing him, saying you're not going to do anything. And then the whole thing that Ben Fredrickson wrote was how like the model was tested, because like back in the winter meetings, they asked him if they need to make changes to philosophy on going into an off season, and then Mo's response was, "Oh well, I guess our model will be tested." And they asked at the winter meeting, at the winter warm up, I mean, did it pass? And he didn't even answer the question. And it's like I don't understand like why it's just I don't understand why is it such this like huge big deal where you have like you have to have like be so candid with everything and not have any just not have any understanding of what the fans are talking about, because
Right.
he has to know.
Yeah, like out of all of like, and another thing, like another quote that came out was I forget which press conference it was, but someone asked him a question, and he says into the mic, into like all the reporters, "Well, I'll go around your question by asking another question, and then I'll answer it." And then he didn't answer it. Like, is Mo just really that bad at like public speaking or understanding the organization, or like is this just the Mo language that we don't understand?
Yeah, I don't know. I
No
don't
good.
know. Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, I was never ever expecting this team with the DeWitts to ever go over 200 million. When I heard payroll go up, I was thinking maximum would be 200, but I don't see that happening, because I think you have a lot there. And I will, like I said, I will give the fence to Mo, because I'm not going to be just here bashing him, because I think he's done great things for this franchise in his time here. You look at, like I was saying earlier with like the division, there's no competition for you. You don't have anyone coming for your number one spot at all.
Right.
There's no one there.
It's literally yours to lose.
Yes, you are the only one that can cause us to lose. So I would much rather, instead of going trading away all these young guys, like if you go and trade like a Nolan Gorman or Juan Yepez or even, I don't think they would, but like a Brendan Donovan even, or a Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson, you don't know what they can do for 2023. Why would you trade that away when it has no risk to you? Because even if you have a shit rotation, like you do, I mean, that's not shit, but you look
Why'd
at
you say it?
I'm just saying, like in general, compared to like top teams.
Oh
But
yeah.
like if you look at the rotation, you're not going to compete against these big teams at all. Like you don't have to. You can address that at the deadline. Now the problem is, will Mo actually go out and do something at the deadline if they need to? Because I don't know.
I say
He's
no.
been ever since the Alcantara trade, he has been like just hesitant to
I
do
think
any
he's
sort
gun
of
shy.
bigger splash.
Yeah.
I mean, I can you blame him though?
I don't,
I can't
and
blame him.
that's my thing with how the Cardinals operate on off season. I just feel like Mo is way too conservative. Like you have
But
this young,
is
you
that
have this.
him or is it DeWitt?
It could be either. No matter what, I feel like the Cardinals are a gun shy team when it comes to trying to make big trades or big signings. Like, yeah, you guys went for Wilson Contreras. That is a solid piece you needed. That is great.
We got
But
Arenado and
an
Goldschmidt, but for
Arenado and
nothing.
Gold, just for the, I'm just talking this year, like alone. And yeah,
Yeah.
you guys got Arenado for a bag of chips. Let's be honest here.
And they
You
paid
got
us for that bag of
Hall,
chips.
yeah, a Hall of Famer. Like, here you go. Here's Arenado. Take him away
$50
from
million.
us. Yeah, but when it comes to like just pitching rotation alone, there was a lot of moves that were seemingly expected, like at least to see in the headlines that like, okay, we made it, we made offers to him, we tried our best, whoop-de-doo. But I feel like we don't see that. Like you just hear rumors like, oh, there's a meeting here, there's been discussions about signing this player, blah blah blah. But there, it just Wilson Contreras alone, I felt like was kind of a letdown in a way, because I mean it's not a letdown, but like I feel like people were expecting more out of this offseason than just one major player.
Yeah, but again, back to what I was saying, like why like these young guys are they're real, you know, like you don't want to move on from them. I mean, look at what they did with Randy, even with Randy Rosarina. You traded him and you didn't give him the opportunity to succeed. So I think they want to give these guys the opportunity to succeed, and I don't blame them for that. It's just my whole thing is can we trust them to go out and actually make the move that they need to at the deadline? And will that guy that they need be available? Like you look at what I think could be potential is Tyler Glass now with the Rays. If you can, like that is a player that I think could be available at the deadline because his contract's coming up, and I don't think the Rays want to pay him that much going into the next year. So you would have him for a whole year, but is that enough? You know, like,
Right.
do you need more? Like, what if you have a major injury to like to Arenado or Goldschmidt? I mean, you could be you could be fucked if you don't have
Not
those
only
guys
that,
on
but
your
like
team at all.
I feel like
And
actually talking about that Glass now trade, I feel like that would benefit the Cardinals so much. Like I feel
oh,
like Glass
it
now
would
would be
it would
such
be
a
a
good pickup.
perfect fit. It'd be a perfect fit for this team, and it would be if Jack Flaherty's even close to what he was. If you have a two of Glass now and Flaherty, man,
Yeah,
that'd be fun to
that's a deadly
watch.
two man. Or Glass now could just come back home to the Berg. Well,
No, he won't come back to the
I'm open
Burgh.
arms to him.
Now,
No, he
now
won't
I
come back.
can't
it's going to
talk.
deteriorate into Adam just being like, please, someone come back.
Well, listen, I'm a Pirates fan, always will be, but I'm not a dumb Pirates fan. I know we suck.
Right.
We've sucked for the past 6 effing years. We
I'm not
stink.
delusional. All right.
But just think about the players we produced. We produced Glasnow, Tyon, Garrett Cole, Marte, McCutcheon. All went their separate ways from the Pirates, and they all succeeded. I wouldn't say all of them succeeded more than others. Like obviously, Garrett Cole is the top of that, top dog amount. The people that have come from the Pirates. It's sad because it's like like honestly, I understand why you're thinking like will like the DeWitts and Mo be that guy at the deadline, because look at all the players that the Pirates have traded away when they were like not amazingly good on the Pirates. I mean, they were like, Glass now was in Tyon were both like injury prone and they were just like inconsistent. Then they go somewhere else in this country and they're just dominant. Like I see why GMs and owners are terrified of making trade with younger players, because you're exactly right. They don't know exactly what their potential is. And with how the
People,
Cardinals are right now, you have such young potential. I wouldn't want to get rid of any of them.
yeah, and people are looking at like trading Gorman, and I wouldn't be completely against trading Nolan Gorman if you're getting an ace. But if you look at what his potential is, now his floor is really, really, really low. But you look at what his ceiling could be, it's just a huge gap. Like he
Right.
could he could be he could even be a 40 plus home run hitter. That's how deadly he can be. I think he would profile more as like a Schwarber type hitter just because he's a lefty.
I just hope for Pittsburgh's sake, and Pittsburgh itself is a very sport heavy
Oh yeah.
city. We got like all of our teams have had legacies. Like, Pirates have had theirs long, long time ago. Penguins, they're always a solid team. And then the Steelers, Coach Mike Tomlin has been a plus 500 team his whole career. So we have a staple of sports. But the Pirates alone are like letting down the whole goddamn city because we just don't do anything.
I miss the Cardinals and Pirates like rivalry.
I know,
That
and
whole
that was
thing.
that was amazing. Like at the point where the Cardinals was like it was always a bloodbath because we had Josh Harrison when he was like doing really good, Andrew McCutchen during his MVP seasons, Marte when he was young. Uh, we had Russell Martin at one point. I mean, we
You had
had
Garrett Cole in your
yeah,
rotation.
Garrett Cole in our rotation. I mean, that team we had was like amazing. None of them are on the team anymore. Not a single. Oh, McCutcheon's back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but back to the Cardinals though, like I'm not as mad as some people are about no moves. It's just my whole thing was why I'm more upset is why even mention payroll going up if you're not going to make it go up a substantial amount. I think it's fair for fans to say when you hear payroll going up, you're expecting one more moderate like acquisition, like you're like maybe like an additional
Right.
$10 million, but you're talking 0.11% increase, and you're counting deferred money as your increase. Like that's not. And yeah, Adam Wainwright got deferred money. That was I do not understand why we brought him back. To be honest, I love Adam Wainwright. I do. I think he is a Cardinal legend. But when you look at what he has done in the last second half of the season, he was terrible. He was awful, and he had the dead arm situation. How can we rely on him to do that? Like, yeah, I've heard people say, "Oh, you can't bet against Adam Wainwright because he'll always come back
Well, I'm
to
not betting
prove you
on Adam
wrong."
Wainwright either.
But I'm not
Yeah,
going to
as a
bet on him
gambling man
either.
myself,
I'm
I
not
ain't
going to bet
betting on
on
him
him
at
either.
all.
Yeah,
And
sir.
like I said, I have a lot of respect for him, and I'm happy to see him retire after this year. But I think he said this is his last year, but I never even know. He never says anything. But like I hope he gets the 200 wins. And I hope he does well this season. But I mean, how can you make that your? How can you bring him in and sign him to that much money? I mean, you're talking $17.5 million to a guy in his age 42 season who did awful in the second half for you. He didn't even start in the postseason for you.
Right. And
Like
he had that whole fit about it too, which
he had a whole fit in the post game about it. Like, dude, you sucked. I'm sorry, you're not gonna go through the game in a big game like that. You're just not. Like we put Jose Quintana, a guy who we also
oh
did not
god.
resign.
I wish he
We
would have
also
resigned. I loved him in the
and he made less. He made like $5 million less than Adam Wainwright. Yeah, it's for multiple years, but you're talking about for annual value. Can't I mean, I don't know why it can't be sustainable. He loved it here. You brought in a guy that he advocated to bring him to. Like in the season, he talked to Wilson Contreras about the Cardinals and him how if it would be a fit for Wilson. And then you brought him in because they were former teammates, and you didn't even bring Quintana back, and you let him go to a team that you're going to be fighting for a playoff spot with. Like maybe if you are good enough to go for a number one seed or number two, the Mets are going to be right there with you for that. And I just don't understand why you would not even try. It seemed like they really tried because I mean that seemed like a very because it wasn't like a Mets overpay for that contract like what they have done like with like Nimmo and what they were going to do for Correa, but like I mean why wouldn't you try to get him back? I don't get it, especially when you only have one pitcher for 2024 at Steven Matz, and he had a bad year last year filled with injuries, so you don't know what he's going to look like going in 2023. So I don't get it.
I do find it funny though that like Mo hasn't signed any pitchers past his time. He's just like, it's this or nothing. The next
Now,
guy's got to figure it out.
Take it or leave.
Yeah.
That's another thing is his contract's up this year. Mo's contract.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I would be shocked if he's not the president of baseball operations in 2024. I'd be shocked. But there's other things going on that's just weird. Like, I have not seen DeWitt in like over a year. He hasn't been at any press conference. He's not at the winter warm up. He wasn't in winter meetings. He wasn't there for the Wilson Contreras signing. Like, where is he? Where is DeWitt? He's missing.
Maybe he's pulling a
he's been
maybe he's pulling a
Where is
St.
he?
Louis
He's too
Rams
busy.
move.
He's too busy going through his Arby's franchises to make sure that those are doing well. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. Maybe who
But
knows?
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe he's trying to do I can't remember the Rams owner's name, but maybe you guys won't
Stan
have the same
Kroenke.
Stan
Kroenke.
No,
Maybe he's pulling a Kroenke.
There's no way that that would not happen.
Brett, I feel like we would have to like put you in a straitjacket because you might go and find.
Everyone who knows me knows the whole Rams thing. I can't even watch football the same. I just can't. Ever since that happened, I am going to an XFL game this year though.
Yeah, me and Brennan do plan on.
I'd love
doing that
to
at some point.
Yeah.
I'd really like to. I would like to just touch on the fact this is just a little. I just can't go. I just want to talk to everybody about it. How did the Chargers come back yesterday?
Oh my god, dude! So I have a.
You mean the Jaguars?
The Jags, yeah, my bad.
The Jags, yeah.
I watched the first half of that game, and
my
I was
God.
like, "Oh my god!" Because I put money on the Jags because it was a small little money line parlay, and I was like, I put money on the Jags, see what happens. I seriously thought they had a chance. Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. And
so
now,
what all was the parlay and everything? If you want,
it was yeah, just a quick. We can go back to off-season stuff, but I had Jags money line, San Fran money line, and let's see, yeah, I have Jags and then San Fran. They both won. Today I need Bills, Giants, Bengals, and Buccaneers all to win, and then I'll win a little bit of money.
But yeah, like that game was. I didn't even watch it. I was at the movies with Katie, so
I have.
That's another good question. I wanted to ask both of you. If you were just from a baseball, sports, just whatever fan standpoint, if you were to put money on who was going to win and make it all the way to the World Series this year, who would it be?
Oh,
I said I'm gonna go Astros back to back.
Dude,
their team's way too stacked, dude. It's way too stacked.
I love putting my money on the underdogs. Though.
I love the underdog story too, but I'm not gonna put money on. The Astros they have no competition in the AL.
Yeah,
maybe Yankees, but even then, the Astros have proven for years now that they own the Yankees in postseason. ALCS, it's the
Aaron
Astros.
Judge even like participate?
Arena.
Did Aaron Judge even participate in the postseason, or did he just hit his 900 home runs in the regular season? Oh, I know, but like, was his bat there?
Oh no,
that's what I'm saying.
The bat took a vacation.
Yankees are just
Harrison Bader did better in the postseason. He was like one of the best Yankee hitters to the Astros series. And even like the Cleveland series, I thought Cleveland actually had a chance to beat the Yankees last year.
I remember that. Yeah. I mean, I was rooting for Cleveland.
Yeah, I wanted them to win, but yeah, the Astros are just they have an easy ticket to the World Series just by itself. Like, I don't think the Mariners can really compete with them. The Mariners are in the same division as them, and they just lost. They lost badly to the Astros.
And I don't even think the Mariners really did anything in the offseason. Didn't they? They signed.
They got Colton Wong through a trade. They did sign AJ Pollock. They got Colton Wong through a trade. They sent Jesse Winker out, and Jesse Winker was not good with them. But Colton Wong will really fit well there. I'm happy for him. I think that's a good fit. Yeah.
Isn't Glasnow still? Or no, Glasnow's a Ray. My bad.
Yeah. But
as an extreme bet, I would say I would want to see the Blue Jays. Honestly.
They're another team that could. That's just, I don't know.
I want to see the Phillies, man. I want to see the Phillies run it back.
The Phillies are another fun team. They're another fun team to watch, but I'm not. I don't really think it's going to be like the Mets either. I just don't. I think their team is just so it's so expensive, but it's not like if you're gonna have a $400 million payroll, it's probably the worst $400 million payroll you can build. Because a lot of
That's
the
like
teams, it's players that you've had. Like I mean, you signed Brandon Nimmo to that massive deal. You got Justin Verlander. You got that one Korean guy, the Kode Senga. You got him. But I mean, you lost Chris Bassett, who was really solid for you. And Max Scherzer's going up in age again. Can he do what he did? And Verlander is the same way. He went up in age too. And I know he just won Cy Young, but the Mets are cursed. They are
oh yeah.
cursed. They're a cursed franchise who have never been able to not Mets it. And that's why they call it that. Is because
To be fair,
that's what they do.
all cursed franchises have their moments. We can't forget
Oh,
2016
I know.
Chicago
I
Cubs.
know, but you look at I don't think that team has enough. Like
I don't
they
think
have the
so
pitching.
either.
I'm not as high on their offense as like some other teams in the NL. Like you look like the Braves even. I think the Mets could be a third place team. And that's because you look at what the Phillies did and what the Braves have. I mean, they're not like that's a lot to ask of the Mets to go out and beat them even with their payroll. I mean, the Braves are probably the most model franchise you could be in baseball right now, if not the Astros.
Right.
Just with their development of young talent and their ability to extend them for long periods of time to keep this core going for very, very low cost. And like the Ozzy Albies contract is robbery. The Acuna contract's robbery.
Oh yeah.
Like they're just they're just a great team that I think they're still going to be on top of the NL East. And the Phillies, if they can survive without Harper, I think the last year was more of an underperformance from them. They could still come out and be a second place team. And I don't know if the Mets, I don't know. Like I said, the Mets have the potential, but they have to rely on either the Phillies or Braves being disappointing. That's how it is.
And that's why baseball itself is it sets itself aside from all sports because it doesn't matter how well you do in the beginning of the season. You like I always come back to the Nationals when they won the World Series. Baseball is a game of momentum, right? The moment you start gaining, here's a win this day, and win. You start going on the streak, it's like it doesn't want to stop. And some teams are lucky enough to take that through the postseason and sometimes make it to the World Series, or sometimes they'll go on a hot streak middle of the season. They're like, and everybody's like, watch out for for example, like, oh, watch out for the Cardinals or watch out for the Blue Jays. They're like on a 15-game winning streak, and then all of a sudden you don't even see them in the postseason. Like other sports, momentum can be halted almost immediately, and you will not hear from that team. Like football, like there are teams like plenty of years, like Aaron Rodgers, for example, 11 or 12-3 season, first round lose. You know what I mean? Baseball, on the other hand, they could be the bottom seeded team, but they could start gaining momentum just before the postseason, and they could go all the way to the pennant.
Yeah.
Look at the Cardinals in 2011.
Shut your mouth. We don't want
Or
to talk about that.
the
You didn't even
2019
do
St.
anything.
Louis Blues.
I know. Wait, no. When was
Yeah,
the
2019
Pirates?
Blues.
When was the Pirates Cardinals pennant? Was that 14 or 13?
It wasn't a pennant. It was the NLDS in 13.
Yeah,
That was when Adam Wainwright
Voldemort.
shoved.
That's what
Yeah.
I just said. That's like Voldemort. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
That's off
Yeah.
topic.
That was a great day for me.
That made me
And
sad.
then we had Michael Waka, young Michael Waka. God, that team was so fun, dude. I miss those days. But I miss those days, dude. And that's what I want the Cardinals to get back to. I want them to be a top tier team. I don't know why. Like they have the potential to do it. You have Goldschmidt, Arenado, and you're wasting their years if you do not go make the moves.
And
if you do not make the moves.
The saddest thing about it was just last year in general, though. Like they had everything, the stars aligned, and it ended up being a whopping 0 playoff wins.
I think the Cardinals have something like that most teams don't in this league, and that is that everybody wants to underestimate St. Louis Cardinals. I fully believe that they're just a team where like you guys are just such a young force with the presence of Arenado and Goldschmidt and now Wilson Contreras. You guys are a team that nobody's going to want to look at, but in the end, you guys are going to lead your division and hopefully make a run in the postseason.
I think it's mainly because of where we are, because it's the Central. There's no it's not interesting. Like the Pirates have made a fun move, but you look at like the Reds, they suck. They're in a full rebuild. You have like the Cubs who made mid moves. You have the Brewers who make no moves. You have the Cardinals who make minor moves that somehow work out. I don't know.
I say that in a few years, hopefully, that in our division is just going to be Cardinals and Pirates battling it out again.
Well, I think the Reds are actually a team in like 5 years that could be competing. I think the Brewers will be at the bottom again in like 5 years. If Christian Yelich does not come back, if they do not come back, they're done. They don't have any. If they're not going to go get a bat for him, they're not going to bench him. They can't trade him. He has that big contract, and they have him for a long time. Let me find out what the actual deal is. It's actually insane.
It's a 10-year deal, isn't it?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's insane. So on Sport Track, he is signed through 2029. He's not a free agent until 2030. And he's at starting last year, he started making $26 million all the way till 2029 or 2028. And then he has like a vested option for $20 million in 2029. And he will be 37. He is 31 now.
You want to talk about highway robbery? That was highway robbery. My God.
That contract actually looked really good at the time.
Oh yeah.
He was nuts. And I don't want to feel bad for my opponent, but I feel bad for Christian Yelich. I really do. That dude was he was insane through his Miami days and everything.
Oh my God, I forgot he played for Miami.
Yeah. Wow. That's kind of forgotten about.
Miami team. He played for Miami too.
that Miami team had Stanton, Yelich, and Ozuna in the outfield.
Oh my God.
That was that, and they weren't that good.
When Ozuna was good, and we traded for him. And yeah, that's when Stanton was literally on top of the world that time.
Yeah, that dude was a monster. And now it's like he's on a slope.
Well, he's gotten older. He's dealt with injury, and he's outshined by Aaron Judge now. So he was almost a Cardinal. We almost traded him. It was actually a done deal. We had Giancarlo Stanton, but he waived his no trade option.
Talking about
not come here,
being outshined by Aaron Judge. Do you guys think Aaron Judge is going to come back and have another season like he just did?
I don't think it'll be as high. As
but do you think he'll be a 40-plus home run hitter this year?
Oh yeah, I think if he stays healthy, he
40
will.
plus.
Yeah.
How many did he have this year? 61?
62.
62. Because I know the record was 61, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, hang on. I'm gonna double check myself here. Aaron Judge.
I know this because I was trying to watch Sunday Night Football and they kept tuning into the Yankees game mid game. I'm like, come on, dude! It's like the first week of NFL.
He had 62 home runs, and the record was 61. It was his age 30 season. He had 131 RBIs. God, his slugging was 686.
My God.
Imagine.
His WRC plus was 207.
Imagine what it feels like to be a Giants fan right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you look at back to Aaron Judge though and how he'll do this year. He really has always stayed around 140, 150 WRC plus this entire career besides his first year. He's always been around that kind of hitter. I think he will still be very elite. I don't know if he'll go back to 62 because that was just nuts. But
right.
you can't expect that from him. But
I mean,
I think
can.
well, no, you can't expect him to break records every year, but I could expect him to be around 40 home runs. That would be like what I expect from him. So
How
like
about other
145 WRC plus. He's projected to have a 172.
what else is going on in St. Louis? How are the Blues doing?
Oh, I'll let Sean go into that.
Yeah, because I know the Penguins are up and down right now.
It's been
God.
a rough go, Adam.
I
Actually, no, it's not been that. It's been bad, but it hasn't been like catastrophically bad. I mean, they're about. I
don't know,
consider them.
Sean. I don't know. It's been pretty fucking bad.
As the positive Blues fan that I usually am with everything, I'm still okay with the team. It's just holy shit, are we injured beyond hell? Adam, to give you an idea, is like, and I follow the Penguins a bit too, so like we're about in the same realm as the Penguins. It's just we don't have a Cindy Crosby, we don't have Evgeny Malkin, we don't have Chris Letang.
We have Jordan Kyrou.
That you can't make the comparison yet, sadly.
I know, but we have Jordan
was gonna
Kyrou.
say the Penguins are 21, 15, and 6. The Blues are only 21, 20, and 3.
Yeah.
Looking at everybody else's record, the Devils are on top. They got their 20, 28, 12, and 3.
Yeah, the Devils are sick this year.
Lightning are 27. The Tampa Bay Lightning, I swear, are good. Like, I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I used to be. I used to be into it. I swear the Lightning are good like every year, and I don't know what it is.
So Adam, I can kind of bring this up with you because this was an interesting point that someone made. Someone said that you cannot they made an interesting comparison of teams or franchises or the quote unquote modern dynasties, and what it was is they tried to make the comparison of the 2008 Penguins or 2008 to 2016 Penguins or 2017 Penguins to the I think it was 2012 Lightning to 2022 Lightning in the sense of which franchise was better during that time frame. And a lot of people said that the Penguins were better all around. However, my biggest argument to this was the pure fact of the Lightning went to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're all
it is so hard to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Not only that, but also stay competitive and make it to the finals. You cannot make that comparison to me. Like, I understand Pittsburgh had their back-to-back year, which is amazing. The Lightning almost had a three-peat.
Yeah,
it hadn't been done since the 80s. And of course, going back to Penguins history, they lost in the finals in 08 to Detroit and then won it against Detroit in 09, which is still funny to me. And you just can't make those comparisons. Like, I just think the Lightning are better all around because they decided to tank when needed for Steven Stamkos, who didn't get 500 goals last night because the Blues and Lightning played. But basically the quick summary of the Blues so far now, the little bit past the halfway mark, is it's inconsistency, but the philosophy is still there. They can still play well. But when I tell you this injury report, it's not great. It's a little brutal. So I can understand why Doug Armstrong hasn't really done anything too. I got to bring up the team page or Cap Friendly because they're the best website ever for these kind of conversations. And it's simply like, here's everyone who's injured. You have Ryan O'Reilly, your quote #1 center, but I don't think he's coming back next year. Personally. He's injured, so you're missing a center. You're missing Vladimir Tarasenko, which he was still on a point per game pace, and he's still, Vladimir Tarasenko. You get what you're advertising with that. Bottom 6 defenseman Robert Bertuzzo. You're missing 3 other what should be main stable defensemen in Torrey Krug, Marco Scandella, and Scott Prunovich. And when you look at it from that perspective, you're missing literally like half of your decor for some games. And then you're missing 2 of your top 6, 2 people who are consistently in your top 6. Like, to put it lightly, we're in shambles, but
that's not lightly.
Well, I mean, you could be worse. You could be Chicago. Chicago is this whole last year and a half has been.
Chicago sports as a whole right
Oh my
now.
God.
I would rather literally move across the country.
I'm happy to be in St. Louis where I won't get too much into it, but at least I'm happier with the sports that we have going on our
Yeah,
side.
'cause-
Like we only have 2 major teams, which sucks, but
Chicago
still
sports
entertaining.
as a whole are like scary. Yeah, the Cubs, who were, they've been on a downhill slope since 2016.
Bear down Cubs. I saw a Cubs game once at their field, and it was Baltimore against Chicago. And
I love Wrigley. I love that
dude,
stadium.
it was
I know, I want to
yeah,
go.
it was an amazing experience because Kelly got his seats at the bottom bowl, so I could like rush down and see the players and shit. It was so cool.
Brendan, isn't that when you almost got robbed? When you went
Yeah, I'll tell this story on how I got almost robbed in Chicago. Well, so I was 19, and it was just Katie and I. I just got off work as it was a Saturday shift. It was like noon, and we went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and this was in 2019. So this is the time. It was like in September 2019. This is when that whole game series where we were close to eliminating the Cubs from contention of the division, and we were trying to win the division against them. And then like it was the game where like Paul Dion and Yachty came back and hit the back-to-back home runs. It was the game where we came back in the ninth and everything. It was a crazy ass series in Wrigley. It's probably one of the best. And since I was 19, I could not have gotten a nicer hotel. I had to go cheaper because Katie was 18 and I was 19, so we couldn't get anything nicer. Like we couldn't go to a Hyatt, we couldn't go to a Holiday Inn, we couldn't do any of that. You had to be 21 for that. So when we were sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings, I was like, this game, I really want to go to Wrigley. I've always wanted to. And Katie's like, why don't we just go? And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, let's go. So we didn't pack a thing. We didn't pack anything. We left the Buffalo Wild Wings and just drove straight to Chicago. And we booked the hotel room while we were there. We bought the tickets. We stayed at a Red Roof Inn in Downers Grove. And when I looked up, I'm not familiar with Chicago at all. This is the first time I ever been there. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I looked at reviews of this place and they looked fine, but I didn't look deep enough because there was bad ones out there that I didn't look at all into. And the pictures looked fine. And I looked up the city. The city seemed fine. Like the neighborhood, it seemed fine. It was like up in like the northwest side, and it was far away. It was like 30 minutes away from downtown. So I figured, I'm not like when I think of St. Louis, the farther away from downtown we are, the better the city is. Most of the time it is, unless like in North County, there's some little areas that can be bad. But so I was thinking, I'm all good. We'll go. We just have to stay there for a night, and then we just go to this game and we come home. Because this was a Sunday that we were going to go to the game. And so we got there Saturday night. We ordered DoorDash because I didn't want to drive anymore. And it was like the Burger King across the street. I could literally see it from my hotel room. But when we first got there, it was bad. Like there was people just like hanging outside. I think we saw prostitutes too. And it was just like it was nuts of what I was witnessing here. And we go in, everything seemed cool. The room was actually fine. I mean, for a $60 a night room, I thought it was pretty decent for what you got. Like everything seemed clean in there. I didn't see any bugs. We checked everything. Everything seemed fine. The one thing that was weird was the bathroom door did not lock. That was the one big thing. And that'll come important later. So we ordered DoorDash, and I put it to come to our door. I gave him the hotel room because it was like outside, so like there was no, you didn't have to go in like through a lobby or anything. The doors were all outside, and it was just like a lobby center. So it was like a motel, and So we go and the person comes with our food, and I was like, they're like, hey, come down and come get your food. I was like, I don't want to go out there because I saw some fucked shit. When I went out there, I saw like there was some other things I saw that I'm not gonna get into. So I was like, it looked like a whole trap house type deal. It was bad. It was bad, dude. So
Did you
I
see
was
Chief
like,
Keef?
no, I saw like a white looking Chief Keef, but it was. But anyway, so I decided I was like, well, I have to go get our food. So I go down and go get our food, and the people who gave us our food, who gave it to me, he didn't even get out of the car. He stayed in his car, and
Because he knew better.
Well, my first thought that the rest of this was him or someone with him, but now that I think about it, I think it was literally just this guy's like, I'm not getting out of this car.
Yeah.
So, I get the food, I go back up to the room. So we're eating, and I hear yelling outside. And again, I'm 19, so I had no idea how to handle anything. I heard like yelling out in the parking lot. So I was worried about my car because I was like, if my mom finds out because my mom had no idea we were here. None of our parents knew we were there. No one knew we were in Chicago. Nobody knew. So, because my mom was very overprotective at that time, and she would have been fuming if she found out that I went to Chicago without telling her or just went to Chicago at all by myself. So, I look out the window like an idiot to see what is going on, and I see this dude look up at me, and I'm like, oh shit. So I close the curtain real quick, and I go back to eat, and then like I would say 5 minutes later, I hear this banging on the fucking door. I mean, loud. And this dude's like, you better open the effing door or I'm gonna effing kill you. And just like, I'm like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Why did I look?
So Katie and I run into the bathroom, the door that does not lock. I am petrified. I had no idea how to handle the situation. I've always thought that like I never really prepared myself for that because again I was like 19. I didn't like now that Kate and I are about to get married. I'm like now ever since this happened, I'm in the mindset where I'm going to defend everything I have into defending her and myself. But
before I just put her in front of the door.
I basically did. I hid in the bathroom, dude. I was in the bathtub, like almost crying of how fucking terrified I was.
Brendan, it's a human being, not a tornado.
No, but this dude. No, but this.
Why would you actually be hiding in the bathtub?
Brendan's Midwest came out. He was like, "Oh,
Dexter."
I was like, if I hide in here, if he shoots through the door, I'm good. He'll miss because I'm all the way in the back of the bathtub. So it's like completely dark. He's still banging on the door. I hear him trying to kick it down, and this door, I forgot to mention when we were going in, it was like it looked like it was falling apart. It looked like someone tried to even kick it down before this whole incident. So
the last guy who looked out the window.
This door is hanging on a little piece of wood, like a twig, to make sure it does not break. And this dude just did not kick enough to kick it down. And I am petrified. I'm on the phone with 911, and Katie's talking to her dad because she wants someone in our family to know if we're in Chicago and we are about to die.
Katie's
so
dad.
I was like, oh, dude. I was like yelling at the 911 operator, and he's like, you need to chill out. And I'm like, I can't. There was a guy literally trying to kill us. It was like
you need to relax. You are the problem in this.
It was insane. And then like he kind of went away, and then like it got quieter, and I heard like on the TV was on, like the news was on or something, and they were talking about like hotel murders that happened in Chicago like yesterday. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the worst time to be broadcasting this story. This is like awful. This is the worst day of my life. So the cops come, and they're like their whole thing was they couldn't find him, and they were like, well, maybe he was just maybe he thought that you were in his room, and he was just trying to get into his room. And I'm like, that is the dumbest fucking excuse I have ever heard in my life. And it was like I was really pissed at these cops for how they handled the whole situation. And like they brought the most lame, like for Chicago cops, I'm thinking you need to be tough. You need to be ready to go with a lot of the crap that happens in Chicago. And these dudes, there was a guy who was shorter than me, and I'm not that tall. He was like to my like neck of how short he was. And then there was like a girl cop who was really so like petite. And I was like, this dude just tried to kick down our door, and these are the people that they send to do this, but whatever. So I go down to the hotel, and I was like, I go down to the front desk, and I'm like, I almost just died. I need a refund because I didn't know where we're gonna go. So once we left the hotel, we got our refund, thankfully, and we were looking at other places to go, and we found a Marriott that was like 5 miles down the road, and it was like in this little like business center, and it was so quiet, and at a Starbucks, and it was amazing. But that was my story of how I almost died in Chicago.
That's the Windy City, folks. That's the Windy City experience right there.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. I've been there one other time since then, and I haven't had any of that problem because the last time we stayed, we didn't even get a hotel. I just drove down in the morning. I drove back after. So
yeah, that's the way I usually do it. Because I usually go out for concerts and whatnot. Anywhere I go, I just go, all right, we're there. All right, we're driving back. And we get back, it's like 4 a.m., 6 a.m. But then I'm like, all right, I'm sleeping later.
But yeah, I love Chicago, though. Katie never wants to go back to Chicago again. Not because of that incident, but
I wonder why.
Story. Well, it's not because of that incident. It was because she's never had a good experience at Chicago. Like every time she's been, even like the second time we came, she didn't have as much fun as I did. Just because she's a baseball fan, but she's not like, she's not like she doesn't understand like as much history of like with Wrigley, and she doesn't understand like the appeal of it as like I do. She just looks at it as this old dingy stadium that they need to tear down and rebuild.
Hey, if you guys ever want to come to the Berg and pay $60 to watch the Pirates lose, you're more than welcome.
It's not gonna be $60. It'll be $1 on game time.
Probably.
No, it'll cost $60 because you have to go through every freaking toll.
Oh my
that's true.
Just to go across the state, because I've made that drive through Pennsylvania to get to Atlantic City, and it's beautiful, like beautiful driving. Some of the best driving I've ever done, and I've gone all the way to Yosemite too. But the hills and the way you guys I don't know if it was just kind of the atmosphere, but like when you're driving through Pennsylvania and you go through one of the tunnels and then you come out the other side and it's like really misty and you see all these amazing hills, it's just absolutely stunning. I love that so much.
Yeah, the Turnpike has so many toll roads, it's nuts. That's why I never take the Turnpike anywhere. I'll find a back road. It's so bad.
I'm walking.
All right, so we're at the hour mark, so we're gonna go ahead and end it here. But I appreciate if you're able to watch through all this and check it on our first episode. We do plan on doing these weekly, so feel free to subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're interested in following along with us through this 2023 season for the Cardinals and for Blues, because we're also going to be covering them too, and just other topics as well. So again, I appreciate everyone who was able to check in on this. This is something we've always wanted to do for a long time, and we put a lot of planning into letting this happen. So again, I just appreciate it, and we'll check you guys out later.
Peace out.